Postgame show streaming live here on Sports Hub STL. Cards Hub Postgame is brought to you by Hot Shots, St. Louis's home for all the games, all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. And all content here on Sports Hub STL is provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Stefan, Caray, and Sara, Dayley here. Again, just another tough performance from the Cardinals on the road against the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark. Not the scoreline we expected in a hitter-friendly palace that is right on the shores of the wonderful river in Cincinnati. And we are ready to break it all down. 3-1, the Reds are victorious against the Cardinals. It is their 8th time this season, scoring 1 run or less. They just can't seem to find a way to purge those road demons here in 2025.
No, the Reds have some momentum going. They came out of a 4-game winning streak, fresh off the sweep of the Rockies. Key contributors, you had 7 for 15 with the home run and 7 RBIs during the series with their first part of the lineup, top of the lineup that is. And they have a lot of hitters that are doing really well. So they came in on fire. Of course, the Cards losing yesterday, but taking the series. And, it's kind of that back and forth battle. Start off hot. Then they turn around and give up a run, then you're knotted again, and then back and forth. So a couple of wins under their belt. It felt good, but now standing at 12-17, the Reds 16-13 rather, and the Birds 4th in the NL Central. Still looking for that room for improvement in quite a few places.
Yeah, very disciplined Reds team managed by Terry Francona in his first year with the franchise. And you saw it tonight. They were scrappy. They were finding ways to hit the baseball where the defenders weren't. And the Cardinals were held scoreless from the second inning on in this game. The final 10 hitters of the game were retired to close out game 1 of this 4-game series. And it felt like coming into this one, the Cardinals matched up really well against Cincinnati, but it just wasn't to be. 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, just sort of felt like more of the same and not capitalizing on some opportunities. Here's a little statistic for you, Sara, and I'm sure you were paying attention. I know you've had a lot of baseball this week with your kids. You and Joe were talking about baseball war stories of being parents in the greater St. Louis area. I'm sure that is riveting. I can't wait to hear the baseball gossip when we're off stream. But the Cardinals have grounded into 26 double plays, 23 before the game started. That's the 4th most in all of baseball. Only the Pittsburgh Pirates have more now with 27 as compared to the Cardinals' 26. 3 more tonight. I mean, it's frustrating to watch when you get a runner on early in the inning and just can't do anything with it.
And they had a pitcher on the mound that, throws into 75, I think 70+%. I mean, you and I were chatting before, and I was like, oh, yeah, they hit a lot of double plays. And you're like, oh, yeah, but you're talking about the Reds. And I said, well, unfortunately, I was thinking the other way around. So I'll go ahead and be that person that is saying, the Cardinals hitting needs to pick up a bit. But I really am excited about options, but then you have some moves to AAA. You got to make some room on the 40-man roster, designated for assignments. You got some things moving here, but I still don't think we have that exact perfect fit. We haven't found the exact notch yet. They're plugging and playing in different pieces. And I feel like when you have that perfect fit, it's going to feel good. It's going to look good. It's going to feel natural. And you're going to be like, okay, there's no question. This is where we need to be for right now.
I think a lot of people were concerned about Thomas Saggese being optioned down to Memphis. And this may be contrary to what the fans think, but this was the right decision for the Cardinals. They needed a true backup shortstop. They needed a right-handed bat that provided outfield depth as well. Barrero is one of the more talked about prospects, had a really good spring. Not to suggest that Saggese couldn't, but what he proved at the major league level is he is a player that they want on the field every single day. That wasn't going to be an option for him with the runway that they're giving to Gorman, to Walker, to Mason Wynn, and of course to Nolan Arenado. There weren't going to be very many options for Saggese. So I think bringing up Barrero, who you can afford to play every couple of days, is only going to help Thomas Saggese's development. Plus, when he comes back this year, assuming he does, he's got a very high batting average. He's going to be confident. He's not going to have to start from the bottom and scrap his way back in. I'm just curious to see how Barrero contributes because Saggese was really carrying the load in a lot of ways for this Cardinals bottom of the order.
In the last series, there was questions when you moved him. And again, when he was coming in that series facing a righty. So there were some logistical purposes for not having him in the lineup. But like you said, he was doing well. It wasn't like he wasn't hitting and performing at that level, but they have to make some decisions to make sure the team can perform. And tonight, Andre Pallante holding a 2-1 record with a 4.05 earned run average. He had a strong track record against the Reds, 5-1 with a 1.8 earned run average over 15 appearances. But just, again, with other support from the bat, just couldn't really wrap it up. And Nick Martinez was looking for his first win of the season, and that's what he came out with.
Yeah, he pitched extremely well. 6 innings, allowed just 1 run, was keeping the ball on the ground, which is essential at that ballpark that's extremely hitter-friendly. It's important to note that both of these teams are going to be playing an extended amount of games without an off day. The next off day for the Reds, Monday, May 12th. The next off day for the Cardinals, Thursday, May 8th. And the Reds seem like they're trying to get all their wins out of the way in the early goings of their long stretch of games. They're playing hard. They're playing aggressive. Not to suggest that the Cardinals aren't, but this feels like, hey, you're going to be depleted toward the end of this stretch. You got to get some wins early in this series. You can only focus on tomorrow. But the Reds, I mean, they just found a way to win tonight and continued to strike when they had opportunities with runners in scoring position.
And I'm not negating the Reds coming off that 4-game sweep against Colorado, but you're also at Coors Field. There's a lot of things going on there that really help that opportunity for them to capitalize on that. But heck, if the Cardinals have to go somewhere and win 4 because of the field setup or because of the situation, like, I'll take whatever they can get at this point and say that. So I'm not, again, the Reds do get some credit for that, but the Cards have struggled on the road. I mean, they've had a tough time with 2-11 away and then now 3-11 after tonight in their season. The batting average, 239 away from Busch, and they strike out way, way more frequently on the road than they do at home. So there's a lot of key factors that they kind of need to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you see yet another game scoring 1 run. This offense is built to score more than 1 run, especially at that ballpark. You're going to need to find some slug. And we thought we found it early in the game. First inning, Lars Nootbaar ringing double off the wall to lead off the game. Then Nolan Arenado, a Sun-aided double off the wall. Gavin Lux couldn't find it. At that point, you're like, okay, they're finding some barrels tonight. It just stopped there. It really was not something that continued for the Cardinals in game 1 of this series. And it's always been a cat and mouse sort of game at Great American Ballpark for St. Louis. 91-91 against the Reds at Great American Ballpark. So 500. They have really duked it out and had some great matchups there over the years. But the Cardinals try to break that tie tomorrow, which is going to be so important. You wanted to win this series against a Reds team that is a little bit different than some of the squads you've been matching up against. They're not the Mets. They're not the Braves. They aren't, some of these top contenders, but they're playing really good baseball and they're playing confident baseball against teams like the Cardinals and against teams like the Rockies. They're taking care of business against teams that have struggled a little bit. So that's got to stop tomorrow if you're St. Louis, if you want to try to even have a chance of winning this series at Great American Ballpark.
And the Cardinals, again, we love everyone joining in the conversation here on Sports Hub STL. We want to hear your comments. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your opinions. And Nick Jensen, it just showed up on the screen for a second, but he said, I'll admit, I'm starting to worry about Walker. Let's discuss him for a second. It says, this is how third trying to not fit grounders over and over. I mean, what do you do if the kid just won't get out of his own way? Well, we've seen him perform out of control and cover more freaking footage and ground than we could ever see in a game, diving into the stands, making foul ball catches and things like that. But then you see him not as active and not as, engaged, maybe is a good word. I don't know if I'm just trying to get it off the top of my head, but what are your thoughts on Walker right now?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit concerning considering this is the third go round, but he's still a young player, still 23 years old. He could be one of those players that really figures it out in his mid-20s. But you got to keep giving him chances. The fact that he's playing so well defensively, made a nice double play, the 7th or the 8th inning against the Reds. He's showing versatility in the outfield that I don't think the Cardinals expected out of him this season. He's worked tirelessly at his craft. But if you look back to when he was a prospect, nobody was ever concerned about his bat skills. Nobody was concerned about his chase rate. He's gotten up to the major leagues, and it's been difficult for him. But this isn't the first time that that's happened to a player. So, yes, it's concerning to watch him still fishing for that low and away slider, but that's been a common issue. If he eliminates that and can learn to spit on that pitch, he's going to get a lot more hittable pitches that he can drive. I think more of the issue is that the pitches that he's hitting are not going for extra bases. They're not barrels. They're weakly hit to the opposite field. He had a long fly out in the finale against the Brewers on Sunday that fooled everybody in the stadium. But it's in there. It's within him. I think that they're doing a nice job of trying to keep him on track. But he's in a dry spell. Wilson Contreras was in a dry spell. Mason Wynn was in a dry spell. All you can do is hope that he pulls himself out of it. I'm sure you agree with that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Contreras. I mean, he's not chasing the ball as much as he was early on. He was kind of searching for something and really going for the low and outsides and he was looking for something to try and swing at that maybe he could get a hold of. And now it looks like he does look a little more confident. So that's good to see. And everyone was saying, just give him some time. He's going to turn around. He's a hitter. It's not going to be something that he's destined the whole season to not produce. So it's a good thing that we're seeing Contreras turn around. But like you said, you want Walker to find his groove. Nootbaar continues to perform. He's doing fantastic. Brendan Donovan, absolutely another fantastic game. He was leading the team with a 359 batting average coming into tonight. He's been a consistent offensive force. And once again, I mean, he's still the only player after this game tonight hitting 349, hitting above 300. Well, Hall of Famers hit about 300. So that's not much to say. You're not going to say that that's something consistent. So keep that in mind. Like, that's something that my dad always reminds me of. He's Sara, Hall of Famers are 3 for 10. So if you're hitting something consistently career-wise, that's really good. So you can't get ahead of yourself and not just rail these guys for how they're at bats or how they're approaching the plate. So that's something that I often think about.
Yeah, well, Brendan Donovan has been such a revelation for the Cardinals this year, hitting around 350, 0 for 3 tonight. But still, he takes such great at-bats. He plays great defense everywhere you put him. And that's the type of player that this organization can rally around, they can build around. He, more than anyone, in my opinion, right, is somebody that I would have my eye on locking up because he's been consistent as a big leaguer. He provides so much value. He has one of the highest WARs in baseball right now. If you're interested in those next level stats, I'm more of an old school guy, but just figured I'd pull that out of my back pocket. I think where it's frustrating is that, again, tonight was a well-pitched game. Palante gave up 3 runs. The bullpen didn't give up any. The bullpen had been a concern over the last 2 weeks. This was a winnable game for the Cardinals, and they just couldn't quite finish it off against a team like the Reds. Now you're running into a good portion of pitchers that have been extremely successful. They're starting rotations pitching to the tune of under a 3 ERA. Tomorrow you have Brady Singer against Miles Mikolas. We know that Miles Mikolas has pitched extremely well over his last couple of starts, but you wonder when the other shoe is going to drop, right? At this ballpark, it's going to be a very difficult ask against a team that's won, 5 in a row now, to try and keep them off balance, to try and keep the ball on the ground. And we can only hope that things work out for the Cardinals and they can get a chance to win or split the series because they can't afford another road series loss. They can't continue to have to keep chasing back to 500 and be 6-7 games below and only have half of their games at home to get some of those games back closer to 500. So it is the early goings of the season, but you want to see them taking steps forward, not backward.
So let's discuss Nootbaar. He had a .409 OBP and 17 ribbies before tonight. He's been a catalyst, like I mentioned earlier, at the top of the lineup. 1 hit tonight, scored a run, still hitting 271, but he just continues to produce, and he had a lot of opportunity. His double was solid, and he's just playing really well.
Yeah, I mean, go back to that first at bat. It was a 3-1 pitch, bottom of the zone. He took it for called strike 2. He almost walked to first, and then what does he do on the 3-2 pitch? He drives it about a foot underneath the yellow line in right center. So he's finding ways to get on base. He's finding ways to slug. I think the main concern was his average on the road. He's starting to remedy that a little bit. And if you can have a placeholder, a table setter like Lars Nootbaar can be, the Cardinals are going to score runs and they're going to score them early. But you got to continue to score runs. You can't just score 2 in the beginning of the game. You got to score 1 in the first, maybe 2 in the third, 2 in the 7th. So keep that foot on the gas pedal and get to that 5-run mark that we've talked about a lot. And I think they'll be just fine. But now you're back to 5 games below 500. Really need to stop that and find a way to beat the Reds because you're in a tough stretch of games. Reds, Mets, Pirates, all of them are going to throw great pitching at you. So you've got to find a way to hit that good pitching, let your offense play at a ballpark that is extremely offensively friendly. And maybe that'll get the Cardinals in a groove and get them back to where they were at the beginning of the season.
Well, one of our viewers here and commenters, Ken Gregory, says the game turned when Wynn failed to move runners over on a bunt. ask them to bunt is like acting Michaelis to go 9. So, well, I mean, yes and no. But again, if you have to look at manufacturing runs. I mean, what are you going to do at some point? 3 home runs tonight, or 2 home runs rather, and ground balls are not home runs. So if you can get ground balls or hit them a bloop and get people on and move them over and get them across the plate, then that's what you got to do. At some point, you have to look at all your options.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, manufacturing runs is something that we've talked about a lot from this team, finding ways to be scrappy. They're not hitting a lot of home runs as a team. So the way that you need to do that is by laying down bunts, or if you're not going to lay down bunts and you refuse to, moving the runners over, getting them into scoring position, hitting sacrifice flies. I wouldn't necessarily say that's where the game changed. It was a big catalyst moment, but think about it. If Wynn strikes out or pops up, you have Pages on second and you have Victor Scott on first. Instead, Wynn lays down a good bunt, but you have the wrong runner at second. You don't have quite enough speed to beat it out. If you have anybody else, you're probably beating that out to third and the bases are loaded. Now, even though Pages gets retired at third base, you have double speed on first and second instead of speed at first and less speed at second. So I think there were opportunities for the Cardinals to strike. You still had runners in scoring position. 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position in a 2-run game is definitely a statistic that you look back on, but he laid down a good bunt. He just didn't bunt it quite far enough. And I think that's something the Cardinals are going to have to get really good at with the speed at the bottom of their order. Victor Scott is showing promise. But we'll see how they touch on that, how they talk about it. And I know that nobody more than Brant Brown and Ollie Marmol knows that this team's going to have to be creative in how they score runs moving forward. But with that being said, it is important to note that baseball season is officially underway, and it's time to step up to the plate with DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle. It's the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Just select 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat. Pick 6 is available in most states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Missouri, and more. Cash in your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. You're going to want to download the DraftKings Pick 6 app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to play. $5, get $50 in Pick 6 credits. Better payouts, bigger wins. Only with Pick 6 from DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
I see Sean of St. Loserville saying, I'm just waiting to hear 2 things. 1, we're already out of contention, and 2, we're officially in a rebuild. Well, we've been talking about being in a rebuild for a while. I mean, that's kind of the situation we're in, right? Like trying to figure out the puzzle pieces to make this team work. But also looking at the Cards, they only had 11 errors as a team heading into tonight. I don't want to say only, but it's not like the errors are what are leading to mistakes and the loss by the team. It may be poor decisions. It may be the not right situations or people in the right place, but it's not a lack of talent, I guess, is maybe a way to put it.
No, I mean, I think that the Cardinals' struggles can be boiled down to one thing. They're not a good team on the road right now. And I think we all could agree with that. When you've only won 2 games on the road, and you've played half your games on the road, you're not a very good team. So as soon as they remedy that, they will be a good team. You're 5 games below 500. Again, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. I understand the frustration. I think everybody's frustrated when games like that happen. But they are a good team. Their starting pitching has been good. Their bullpen, yes, has struggled on the road, but have been pretty good at home. You've won the majority of games at home. You've struggled on the road. So let's look at that and let's break it down that way. Yes, they're not a very good team on the road. So that's an evident fact. Everybody can make that point. But they are a very good team at home. 10-5 is an extremely good record. That's top 10 in all of baseball in terms of records on their home turf. On the road, yeah, they have the second worst record in baseball behind the Rockies. So you don't want to be in that group. You'd like to stay in top 10. Offensively, they're still in the top 10 in several categories. Starting pitching-wise at home, they've been great. So I don't think that this is necessarily a full rebuild, but they're doing what they said they were going to do. They are giving leeway and runway to their young players. They have to figure out if their young guys, Walker, Gorman, Wynn, Victor Scott, Matthew Liberatore can play up here. And will they be long-term contributors? If not, they'll look another direction. But right now, I think you can say for at least 3 of those 5 guys, the answer is yes. Victor Scott has looked great. Liberatore's looked great. Mason Wynn has looked great. Walker, yes, still needs some improvement. We know what he's capable of. We know what Gorman is capable of. Yes, it's going to be frustrating, but that's the fun of it, is that you could be a team full of mercenaries. You could, and be a team that really you don't have players that are going to be part of your long-term future, like Carpenter was last year, like Brandon Crawford was last year, like Kyle Gibson was, Lance Lynn, and not be giving those players a chance to really see what they're capable of. But now you're seeing your young players in action. Yeah, they're going to be growing pains, but I think that with patience, and I know that people are tired of hearing the word patience, this team can be really good and will be really good because the experience that they're gaining now is going to pay dividends down the road.
Right. And the fans that are all frustrated, as are many of us, a lot of us, all of us, it's naive to think it's not carrying over in the clubhouse, right? Like these players are frustrated too because they want to win. It's not like they're just going out there and rolling over and letting it happen. I mean, they're trying to figure it out too. These players that are struggling at the plate, they're frustrated. They got to mentally get past the block. You've got players that are a little tweak injury here, some that's a little setback there. And that's frustrating because when you finally think you have it together, then you have these injuries and it's all part of the game. I'm not saying that's not expected. Every team goes through these moments, but the frustration is true as much with these guys as it is with everybody else. They're not just going into every game being like, oh, here we go again. It's only, April and we're just going to hand it over.
Well, and it really depends. If you are a fan, to play devil's advocate here now, I will. If you're a fan, would you be happier hearing them saying, hey, we're in a complete rebuild. We're tearing this thing down. We're breaking it down. We know we're not going to be competitive this year. We're going to play for a window of years in 2 years from now. Like the Mets said they would, right? Remember when Steve Cohen said, hey, our window isn't this year, right after they had signed some big contracts with Lindor? Well, now they're there. They made a couple of signings, and not to suggest the Cardinals or the Mets. The Mets have spent more money in free agency than any team in baseball outside of maybe the Dodgers. But the St. Louis Cardinals are a team that expect to be in the postseason every year or close. And I think that's what makes them such an exciting and intriguing team to follow. I don't think fans necessarily would be happy if ownership and the GM came out and said, yeah, we're in a rebuild, because they're really not. They trust their players' ability to be competitive in what is an open division. And I think that they still can be. I'm not losing faith that this team that's 5 games below 500, not 15 like the Rockies or some of the teams at the bottom of their division, can somehow find a way to pull themselves out of it. I believe in the talent. I believe in the pitching. I think that it'll take some fine tuning, but they've got the right squad, a young, exciting squad that can keep things fresh.
And I agree with you 100%. I mean, the expectations of Cardinal fans is not a bad thing. I said it a couple of weeks ago in one of the early shows. Expectations are good. And when you don't meet them, that pushes the team a little bit more to make sure those expectations are met. I mean, is attendance or butts in seats maybe a situation? Is that going to catch the eye of ownership? Well, yeah, because you want to put a good product out there. But at the same time, you have a dynasty of baseball in St. Louis. It's not known for baseball haven for no reason. And you have to work at it. So at some point, if you're not going to be extremely successful out of the gate, you got to give a little bit of chance and keep that support there. So we've had quite a few comments talking about not being able to rebuild. Is this something that ownership is paying attention to? Sean of St. Louisville, once again, the front office was mentally prepared to lose at least 1 million fans this year. I heard that on the radio the other day. I don't know if that's the mental approach. I really wouldn't say that. I do think that they really trust who, like you said, the people they have in place to make the right decisions. And whether that falls into place right now or maybe in a couple of weeks, I do have faith in the Birds. I always have. I'm going to be that person. But yeah, I think we're still looking at a potential to really turn out better than what people are expecting this season.
Yeah, they're not getting blown out every game. They aren't. They're losing in some frustrating ways, but they're not getting blown out. They're competitive in every single game. Outside of that one Boston Red Sox matchup, which on Sunday Night Baseball might add. So a bit of an anomaly, but they are playing competitive baseball 90% of the time. Yes, you'd like to see them be closer to 500. Everybody would. Their starters are proving something. Michaelis has pitched well in his last 3 starts. Palante has pitched well by and large. Liberatore has pitched well. Fetty struggled in his last outing, but by and large has been great. Sonny Gray is looking like an ace. I mean, these are all blessings that should be counted by the fan base, where there are a lot of organizations that would love to be in the position that the Cardinals are, with a young team that they're trying to figure out who they are. Now, what matters at the end of the day are wins and losses, but I think that what we're going to see is a seamless transition between Mozeliak to Chaim Bloom. They are prepping him to take this organization to that next step, get them back to postseason baseball. And who knows, maybe they'll make it this year. But some things obviously need to change. I think we know what they are. But first and foremost, it's winning on the road. If you do that, then you know you're going to perform at home. Then things the wheels start to turn a little bit more. And this is a different team than they were a week and a half ago. So, we can harp on it all night long. But tonight, just a 3-1 loss to the Reds. I'm interested in talking about tomorrow, though. Michaelis versus Brady Singer, which is a cool matchup. Michaelis has pitched well. Let's get his exact numbers over his last couple of starts. His last 3 starts for the Cardinals has given up 5 earned runs over 15 2/3. That's good for a 2.87 ERA. He's done his job since that bad blow-up outing against the Boston Red Sox. Singer's 4-0 with a 3.62 this season. He got a win and a quality start at Miami. His longest start, his last time out since his seven-inning outing on March 31st, which was his first start of the year. So they have 2 guys that are pitching well of late. It'll be up to the Cardinals bats to get up and after Singer early and make sure that you start getting into that bullpen, because it is a 4-game series.
So again, 4 games for the Birds. You mentioned the matchup tomorrow on Tuesday. Then they play again on Wednesday. And right now it's Matz and Abbott. So we got a couple of matchups that are going to be really good for the rest of the series. It's not like this is something the Cardinals can just walk into. What other points or situations do you want to prove here tonight or discuss that maybe some Cardinal fans aren't aware of or that you see differently?
Well, I think having another player like Barrero coming in is going to help. A fresh face, somebody new that is making his big league debut, that's going to go out and showcase his skill set for St. Louis. They need a backup shortstop. They need to be able to give Mason Wynn days off and to be able to trust the defensive ability. Yes, Brendan Donovan was fine over there, but you want to have somebody that is exceptional. Shortstop is an incredibly important and difficult position. To have another right-handed bat is important. But there's nothing the fans are saying that is incorrect. Maybe it's aggressive. Maybe it's a little too hard on this team, this young team. But first and foremost, winning on the road, and that's really the only point that I can make. It's an exciting team. It's a young team. They play a brand of baseball that is a little bit different than today's modern look and modern approach. They like to steal. They like to lay down bunts in certain situations. They haven't gone full analytics, which I'm a fan of.
Right.
But that's how they're going to have to play. They're going to have to go back to a version of Whitey ball where they scrape across runs, which exactly, I think everybody loves that brand of baseball. That's what made the Cardinals so successful for so long. And it's going to start with them winning a series on the road and proving to themselves they can do it.
When you say that word, it's just like, I think every Cardinal fan's ears like perk up and they're like, Whitey ball, what? I mean, that was just kind of an era where, I mean, of course, Tony La Russa and the era continue, but Whitey ball was really kind of one of the starts of just fundamental baseball. Always the next play or 2 or 3 ahead of whatever was going on in the field, really just logically, mentally into the game all the time. And I'm not saying always not. It's just you could tell it's a little bit different of a game nowadays. And so that's something that I think a lot of fans, especially the older generation, do compare to. You had an extremely successful long run for the Cardinals. And now these guys are younger. They're trying to rebuild that, reshape that, and bring that fantasy back. And I will say, I understand the fans with no attendance and their frustration, because Busch is electric when there's people there and when they're there to support a product. And unfortunately, it hasn't been that situation. But I think once the fans really put trust and faith back into this team and bring those fans back, it's going to be right back to where it was. And there is nothing like walking into Busch Stadium on a home game against a decent team where you know it's just going to be amazing. You're going to have a good time.
Well, St. Louis is a baseball town. Cincinnati is a baseball town. And this is not by any means a fair weather fan base. They have supported this team through thick and thin. They're experiencing a growth period that is different than what they've experienced over the last 3-4 decades. So it's going to take some time to get used to. But as it pertains to Ollie Marmol, been around. So I trust in his ability to go out and look at what the Cardinals need. Whitey ball is great. The old-fashioned style of baseball, I prefer to watch the strategy of it. But there are things that support maybe not laying down bunts every single time. Like tonight, right? Mason Wynn lays down a bunt. The guy gets out at third base. If you hit a single, maybe you tack on a run and you're a little bit closer and it changes the whole outlook of the game. But when you ground into 3 double plays, maybe you have to lay down a bunt the next time. It's going to be that analysis for the Cardinals. They're going to have to not be unfeeling and not be afraid to adapt and change, because of the fact that this team will need different things than maybe the average major league team. Once you see more slug, you'll see the bunt going away a little bit more. Once you see Victor Scott starting to exploit the gaps, you'll see the bunt going away a little bit more, because he's getting on base in a variety of ways. Last year, he couldn't get on base, so they had to lay down bunts. Kind of like what the Rays are doing with Chandler Simpson. The guy puts the ball in the infield, he's got a chance of beating it out. So, again, I keep saying it, it's going to be interesting to see how it all develops. But there's not much more that we can say than that. This is a team that fans should be putting stock into, because as that stock develops, maybe over the course of this year, next year, they're going to be good again. They will be good again.
Right. And then you're going to be proud of what the organization did to develop that team. Be like, oh my gosh, remember a couple of years ago when things were really, really rough, and now look at them. So as you mentioned, I hope that continues. But I really don't have any more final thoughts on tonight's game. A lot of the folks commenting, we appreciate your support. Subscribe, comment, become a part of the Sports Hub STL family. We love and appreciate you having us on board and being a part of this. So any other final thoughts there, Steve?
No, I don't have any final thoughts. We thank you all for joining us. Unfortunately, the Cardinals dropped game 1 against the Reds 3-1, but the good part is they get another 3 chances against them at Great American Ballpark. For everybody here at Sports Hub STL, I'm Stefan, Caray, Sara, Dayley. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Cards Hub Postgame Show, brought to you by Hot Shots. All content provided by DraftKings. The crown is yours. We'll see you tomorrow after the Cardinals game, hopefully where they even up the series 1 game apiece.
Appreciate you, Stefan. Thanks, guys.